Welcome to the leading podcast for long-term weight management. Subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss an episode. You can connect with Jenny on all social media channels. You can also sign up to the newsletter to receive frequent content and tips for weight loss success.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 4 of the Power Over Food podcast. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've had a great week. It's been 2 weeks since I launched the podcast and I've already had almost 200 unique downloads, which is incredible. I do hope these podcasts are bringing value to you. I hope they are helping you challenge and change your relationship with food. And from now on, these podcasts will be released fortnightly. So make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode, and they'll be released on a Sunday. And I've chosen Sunday because I do believe that Sunday is a time for reflection with our weight loss and a time to plan the week ahead. So hopefully these will motivate you to stay on track or get back on track if you've had a difficult weekend with food. And if you haven't listened from the start, then I strongly recommend that you do, as I will be taking you on a journey, and each podcast will be a building block, if you like, for you to become successful at managing your weight and losing weight. So today I wanted to talk about challenging your unhelpful thoughts, because let's face it, we all have that voice in our head that leads us away from achieving what we really want to do. Now, I like to call this voice my sloth brain. I like to imagine that my lazy, crooked, unhelpful thinking comes from the sloth. It's a little part of me, but it's my sloth brain. Now, the sloth is unhelpful not only around food, but around many aspects in our lives. We've all had moments of self-doubt, and we've all heard that voice in our heads that tells us we're not good enough to do something, or tells us we'll never be successful at something, whether that's weight or whether that's going for a job. An example of this is when I was recording my first podcast, my sloth said, "Why are you doing this? Nobody's going to listen to you." And I have to kind of put my sloth in a cage and say, just back off, just be quiet, particularly when it comes to food, if we are trying to manage our weight. So hopefully you're with me and you understand what I mean when I'm talking about unhelpful thinking or our sloth brains. And I'm going to go through some examples. But first of all, it's really, really worth being more aware of how your sloth brain talks to you. Because when you look back, you've probably been listening to it talk to you for quite a while, and you may have even missed opportunities because your sloth brain has told you that you can't do that. How many Mondays have you started a diet? You're all fired up, and this time is going to be the last time. And then the weekend approaches, and your sloth gets louder and louder, and you start hearing the unhelpful thoughts. It's the weekend. Surely you're allowed a treat. Or, "Oh, you've worked so hard. You deserve something nice." Or, "Everyone else is enjoying themselves. Why can't you?" Or maybe it's, "The scales have gone down this week, so it's okay if you have something." Or what about, "It won't make a difference. You can pull it back on Monday." Now, I could go on because I have pages and pages of these unhelpful thoughts. And these are what we call crooked thoughts. And they're crooked because they are so not true. But we, or our sloth, convinces us that they are. And as we reach for the food, in that moment, we do believe that we will pull it back, or we do believe that we deserve, that we have earned that food. But then later on, or the next day, or sometimes literally as soon as you've finished that last bite, you beat yourself up and you end up feeling frustrated or cross with yourself. So firstly, stop being cross, stop being annoyed with yourself. Be annoyed at your sloth if you want to be annoyed, but remember that beating yourself up, there's no mileage in it. It doesn't get you anywhere. And secondly, now you know where your voices are coming from, let's do something about it. Today, I am inviting you to take control of your sloth. So, for the next 48 hours, at least, hopefully longer, I want you to write down all of your unhelpful thoughts. Every time that sloth speaks to you, I want you to jot down what they've said. Now, be aware that some of these sloth thoughts, they will come in guises. They might sound like they are a compliment, but notice whether they are still unhelpful. And if they are leading you away from your goal, away from what you really want to achieve, then that is a sloth thought. That is an unhelpful thought. So an example of that might be, you have done really well, you deserve a treat. So the sloth sounds like they're being really, really nice, saying you've done really well this week. You deserve a treat is leading you away from your goal. Now, the best way to do this is to grab a piece of paper or grab your diary and put a line straight down the middle of the page, because on one side you are going to list all of your unhelpful thoughts from your sloth, and the other side I'm going to invite you to list more logical, more balanced viewpoints on these thoughts. So let me give you some examples. Let's take the unhelpful thought of, you have done really, really well this week. You deserve a treat. That could become, yes, I've done really, really well, and I will do even better if I stick with my plan. I can reward myself with a great loss on the scales, or I can reward myself with a non-food treat. Or your logical thought could be, I don't need a treat. I am not a dog. I remember someone saying this to me years and years ago, and I found it so helpful because it's so true. We're not dogs. We don't deserve food treats. Food is fuel. So don't reward yourself. Don't treat yourself with food. So another thought could be, you have worked so hard, you deserve something nice. And you can counteract that with, yes, I've worked hard and I will not undo that hard work by eating something calorific. Or you could be battling the thought, everyone else is enjoying themselves, why can't you? And maybe your more logical thought is, I can enjoy myself without overeating, and I will have more pleasure in losing weight than eating unhealthy food. Or maybe your logical thought is, this journey isn't about what everybody else is doing or everybody else is eating. This is about my journey with my weight and my relationship with food. I'll just do a couple more examples for you to help you. A big one I hear all the time when people are hopping on and off the scales is, well, the scales went down a little bit, so it was okay for me to have something. So if that's what your sloth is telling you, maybe your more logical thought could be, well, the scales will go down a lot more if you stick to your plan. And if you come off plan, if you reward yourself with a little food treat, then the scales might even go up. Is that what you want? One more, it won't make any difference. You can pull it back Monday. Actually, it will make a difference, and I may not pull it back on Monday, so let's just stick to plan. I know I said one more, but there's always that really, really unhelpful thought when you do come off your plan, and that's my sloth brain certainly says, you've ruined it now. I don't know why you bother. You'll never be thin. You might as well just carry on eating. And my more balanced logical thought is, it was one unhealthy meal or one unhealthy snack, and one is absolutely fine. And hopefully that won't affect the scales. But if I continue eating and go into self-destruct, then it will do damage and it will affect the scales. Now, if you can write these down and get into the practice of challenging every unhelpful thought you have and coming up with a new balanced, logical way of thinking, then this will really, really help you. I have been doing this for years. I don't tend to write these thoughts down very, very often unless I'm having a really challenging patch with my relationship with food. But over years of practice, I can now laugh at my sloth brain, and I hear these thoughts come in and I can just kind of tell my sloth to be quiet and just bat it away, because I know it's just that unhelpful voice in my head. But that has taken me years and years of practice, and my sloth still knows my weakness. My sloth knows that birthday cake is my weakness, and once it's in the house, I will keep going back for another slice. My sloth knows that holidays are my weakness, and I have to really, really fight the sloth around Christmas time as well, because if it was up to the sloth, Christmas would start in November, and I would have 6 weeks of overindulging. Now, something else to remember is your thoughts affect your feelings, which then affect your behaviour. So anything you think has a direct impact on how you feel, and that has a direct impact on how you behave. So if you're thinking, oh, it's the weekend, I have 2 whole days off work, I can relax, then your feelings are likely to be happy and chilled. And then your behaviour is likely to be calm. But if you think, oh, it's the weekend and I won't be able to enjoy myself because I'm on a diet, then you may feel sad, frustrated, angry, and then your behaviour is likely to be that you sulk, maybe you're snappy with others, and maybe eventually you fall off your plan and you eat high-calorie food. Here's another example. Let's say you tell yourself that you're rubbish at losing weight. So your sloth says, oh, you're so rubbish at losing weight. Then it has an impact on your feelings. It may be that you feel sad. It may be that you feel weak around food. And it may be that you're even miserable. So then how are you likely to behave? If you're thinking you're rubbish at losing weight and you're feeling miserable and weak, then maybe that you're not very in control when it comes to food. And maybe when you're with your friend and they mention that they've been on a diet and they've lost weight, you might even be snappy or rude towards that friend because of the way you are thinking and feeling. So again, it's about working on challenging these unhelpful thoughts. It's about catching yourself, and maybe if your thought was, I'm working on losing my weight and I'm working on maintaining my weight and I will succeed. How might you feel if that was your thought? Happier? Calmer? In control? Good? And how might you then behave? You would hopefully be more in control around food. You would hopefully be more logical and balanced when making decisions around food, and calmer and happier for other people that are losing weight. So there's a lot to think about there, and I'm conscious that unless you've made notes, there might be a lot to take in. So please feel free to listen again. Please do try and write down those thoughts, challenge them with more logical, more balanced thinking. Ask a friend to help you if you need to. But I promise you, if you do this, if you start to manage your sloth and these unhelpful thoughts, you will probably be half, if not 3/4 of the way there with your weight loss, because most of your weight loss is about changing your mindset and about challenging these thoughts. So that's it, guys. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, you can connect with me on social media. I always love hearing about how you're doing with your weight loss journeys. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And please, if you haven't done so already, please do leave me a review. And finally, please do share this with anyone you know who is struggling with their relationship with food. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next episode.